Welcome to another Follow My Voice. Today we're going to talk about another interesting concept from another hero in history. And today's hero is going to be Mozart. So for all those musically, harmonically, symphony inclined music lovers out there who respect classical music history, I love Mozart, and let's see what we can learn. So we can learn from Mozart today, why don't we? So today I want to talk about how Mozart, back in the day, a day without iPhones, where you couldn't record anything. If you're lucky, you carried around a journal, but they weren't those cool moleskin journals that I use for my conferences or that you could buy very cheaply on Amazon. These are more like pieces of slab paper that you had to probably dip your pen in ink, like those old George Washington cartoons that would show Benjamin Franklin or Mr. Washington dipping a feather pen in black ink. And what I want to talk about today is how did Mozart, taking his musically lovable, musically enhanced brain, how do you remember everything and get every symphony out that he got out? He lived in a place where he wasn't always around a piece of paper where he could quickly jot down the musical notes. No, in that time, you couldn't just say, "Hey Siri, I need to do this note and that note, and I want it to go up and sound or down and sound," and it was a piano. No, he had to imagine things in his brain. And when he imagined things in his brain, he would be, I'm Mozart, wandering around my day, doing my Mozart thing, just banging out, doing whatever a Mozart does. And all of a sudden, whoa, that's a cool little symphony, or that would make a good song. But I don't have a pen. I'm nowhere near a piece of paper. I'm surrounded by imbeciles that will not remember or even understand my musical genius. Oh man, what am I going to do? So he had to just memorize it and play it in his mind over and over again. And so here Mozart went home after playing it over and over again in his brain, from point A to point B, journey of music, or whatever lyrics he was, or musical notes he was capturing. And then when he got home, he would quickly jot it down before he forgot, and then bam, went to the piano and started rehearsing, bringing into reality what it is that he had imagined. And so that, to me, is very impressive, because what he brought from his own brain into reality became something that he was able to, manifest into the real world. And we're living in a world where you had to manifest out of thin air music that had never been heard before, and you didn't have the ability to go on YouTube or SoundCloud or Spotify and easily find other influences or other people to model. You would have to travel to a concert, and even then you wouldn't be able to record it. All you had was what was in your mind that you could remember from the music and from the incident at the time. And to me, why that's so impressive is that without all these other influences and what else to do, he was able to manifest music from ephemeral? Is that the right word? He would manifest music that didn't exist and then bring it, once it existed in his brain, into reality so that it would exist for the rest of the world. And then, of course, write it down so that it would be passed on to generations. For that reason, we can still listen to Mozart today. If Mozart had not written it down and only manifested it, yeah, he would have been great for his time, but the music would have died with him. There's a very famous quote, which I should give its own quote, but I'm going to bring in here, that most people die with their music or song or hit music album within. So they die with a killer album inside of them that never manifested itself into the real world. And that's really sad, because once it exists in your brain, remember, the universe whispers to you what you should do. But that little voice in the back of your head, yeah, that voice is always really loud and yelling at you. Don't do that, people are going to judge you. Don't do that. Don't do that. But in reality, you might hear little whispers such as, hey, what you need to do is play this song, record this music, start that business, create that podcast, do what you've always wanted to do. Or don't do it. You don't have to do it. We can do it tomorrow. Let's watch the game. Or let's play a video game. Or let's read a book and learn. That one is the sneakiest one. Because that happens to me all the time when I want to do something productive. And then that little voice in my head says, well, why don't we read a book instead? Or why don't we watch some productive YouTube videos? And these are very productive YouTube videos on personal development or personal growth. But they aren't getting me closer to where I want to be. And they're not getting me closer to my goals. And so I'm just using them as a way to escape. And speaking of escapism, you got to confess where you're escaping. And for me, it's still that snooze button. I still keep escaping because I say, I'm going to wake up bright and early, tackle my day, and next thing I know, it's 12 noon or something sometimes on a weekend, and bam, there goes my entire day, and I've accomplished nothing. That's terrible. I mean, there's a reason why there's two stories I always hear. One is all those famous speakers were always living inside their car. And the second one is they always had no money and they hit rock bottom before they became millionaires. And so, how can they pull something like that off where I can't even not hit snooze? And it's sad, and I'm embarrassed and ashamed to admit it, but I'm going to begrudgingly admit it here. And going back to my Mozart thing, I can see the answer. I can see what I need to do, but I haven't actually manifested it. I have not manifested it into the real world by executing on what it is that I need to do in order to manifest the life I want. That's sad. And so, I guess I'm going to leave you with this question. What are you escaping from, or letting the little voice, in that one, cover the whispers that are telling you you're calling? What are you letting that little voice in the back of your mind stop you from doing when you are hearing a little whisper that is a calling, and this calling is your higher purpose of what you should be doing in the world? And it doesn't matter if you know that that's your higher purpose, if you don't actually, and it doesn't matter if that's your higher purpose if you don't manifest it into the real world. And that is our lesson from Mozart. So also, Mozart would have loved you to manifest that hitting the like and subscribe button. And if you found any value in this talk, otherwise, thanks for following my voice.